Something's wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one. And another. They look like tentacles to me. There, I can see the thing's body. It's large as a bear, and it glistens like wet leather. But that face, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent. The mouth is V-shaped with saliva dripping from its rimless lips that seem to quiver and pulsate. The monster, or whatever it is, can hardly move. It seems weighed down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's raising up. The crowd falls back now. They've seen plenty. This is the most extraordinary experience. I can't find words. I'll take this microphone with me as I talk. I'll have to stop the description until I can take a new position. Hold on, will you please? I'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening at the overflow parking lot at Truax campus. We now return you to Carla Phillips at the overflow parking lot.
Hey, Wolfpack. Am I on? Hey, Wolfpack. Here I am, on top of the bleachers that adjoins the overflow parking lot. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk, as long as I can see. State police have arrived. They're forming a barrier in front of the pit, about 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain is conferring with someone. We can't quite see who it is. Oh yes, I believe it's Professor Pierson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted. The professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and 2 police officers advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole, a flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait, something's happening. A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. They're turning into flame. Now the whole field's caught fire. The woods, the baseball park, the gas tanks of the cars. It's spreading everywhere. It's coming this way, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from the overflow parking lot. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indelkoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We now continue with our piano interlude.
Listeners, I have just been handed a message that came in from the overflow parking lot. Just a moment. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead on the pavement. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you hear will be that of Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the National Guard at Madison College.
I have been requested by the governor of Wisconsin to place all of Dane County under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter the area except by special pass issued by state or military authorities. 4 companies are proceeding to Madison and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Thank you.
You have just been listening to General Montgomery Smith, commanding the National Guard at Madison. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Truax campus are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back into their pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. Combined fire departments of Dane County are fighting the flames which menace the entire campus. We have been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit at the overflow parking lot, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you... Just one moment, please. I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pierson has been located at Unity Park, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you his explanation of the calamity. The next voice you hear will be that of Professor Pierson, brought to you by the Clarion radio. Professor Pierson?
Of the creatures in a rocket cylinder by the overflow parking lot, I can give you no authoritative information, either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For a want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It's all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It is my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose, by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, such as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Professor Pierson. Listeners, here is a bulletin from Truex. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carla Phillips has been identified in a hospital. Now here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. The director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers has been assigned to the headquarters stationed outside Truex campus. Here's a bulletin from State Police. The fires at the overflow parking lot and vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit and no sign of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. And now, listeners, we have a special statement from Mr. Harry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received a request from the Guard to place at their disposal our entire broadcasting facility. In view of the gravity of the situation, and believing that radio has a responsibility to serve in the public interest at all times, we are turning over our facility to the National Guard.
We take you now to the field headquarters of the National Guard near Truex campus.
This is Captain Lansing, now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Madison College's Truex campus. The situation arising from the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now under complete control. The cylindrical object, which lies in a pit directly below our position, is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry. Without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights here. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's an interesting outing for the troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms, crossing back and forth in front of the lights. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods bordering the Robin Roberts baseball field. Fire started by the students. Well, we ought to see some action soon. One of the companies is deploying on the left flank. A quick thrust and it will all be over. Now, wait a minute. I see something on top of the cylinder. No, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of the parking lot. 700 armed officers closing in on an old metal tube. Wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal. Kind of shield-like affair, rising up out of the cylinder. It's going higher and higher. Why is standing on legs? Actually rearing up on a sort of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees and the searchlights are on it. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the parking lot are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at the overflow parking lot has ended. In one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by any army in modern times. 700 officers armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 52 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from the overflow parking lot to parking lot A, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monster is now in control of the middle section of the Goodman Sports Complex and has effectively cut the campus in twain. Communication lines are down. East Washington and Highway 51 are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and Army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, fugitives will have swelled the surrounding cities, it is estimated, to twice their normal population. At this time, martial law prevails throughout Madison and Wisconsin. We take you now to Washington for a special broadcast from the Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of humanity on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. Here is a special bulletin from New York. Cables received from English, French, German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on the planet Mars. Majority voice opinion that enemy will be reinforced by additional rocket machines. Attempts are being made to locate Professor Pierson of Madison College, who has observed Martians at close range. It is feared he was lost in recent battle. Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report 3 Martian machines visible above treetops, moving north towards Somerville, with population fleeing ahead of them. Heat ray not in use, although advancing at express train speed. Invaders pick their way carefully. They seem to be making conscious effort to avoid destruction of cities and countryside. However, they stop to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society.